Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I was really trying to figure out what to film for this week's video since I'm really trying to post one video a week every Wednesday, and so far I've done pretty well since I got back into it. This week, like I always say, I'm trying to keep this video short and sweet, and I'm taking that literally this week, and I'm baking a cake. So I woke up in such a baking mood. I feel like I haven't been in a baking mood in a hot minute, which is rough because that's a big part of my job. So I was trying to figure out what to bake with the ingredients I have on hand, and I have 3 gigantic fresh grapefruits that like need to be eaten before they go bad, and I hate food waste, so I'm using those grapefruits to make a grapefruit cake. I have never made a grapefruit cake ever, so this is my attempt. I really hope this cake turns out, otherwise this video will be a bust. So here's hoping. I'm gonna prep all the ingredients and then show you what I have. Okay, so before I bake anything, I like to write down the recipe that I have in mind. It might change depending on like how the consistency of the batter looks, but this is what I have so far. Don't look because it's not ready. And then I have my electric hand mixer. Eventually I'd want a KitchenAid, but that's like a dream. I have my like baking ingredients out just so that I can bake a lot easier and just makes the process quicker and more efficient. I'm running out of eggs, so I'll use the last 4 for this recipe because I wrote down 4 eggs. So this is it. It's a very simple recipe, and I really hope it turns out okay. Let me like get baking and explain as I go. So there's definitely a lot of rules to baking, and I think one of the big ones that I don't follow is that you should do wet and dry ingredients in 2 separate bowls and then mix them together. Just dropped a shell. I don't do that, mainly because I'm too lazy, and also because I feel like the people that follow me are not professional bakers, and they are not gonna want to make hella dishes, and they're just not professional. I'm not professional, so I like to like simplify the recipe as much as I can, both ingredient wise and like what you need to bake the stuff with. So my recipes are always very simple and don't always follow the baking rules. And I also don't measure that well typically, so I'm really trying to measure as best as I can for followers who want to make these recipes. But if it was up to me, I would just throw everything in a bowl and hope for the best. But here we are measuring. So I started with 4 eggs. Let me wash my hands and come back. Okay, another fun fact about me is that I'm the messiest chef baker ever. This is the mess. Like, all I wanted to do was squeeze 3 grapefruits, and I demolish this corner of my kitchen. So I have this that I made in order to squeeze like lemons and grapefruits and things like that. It works pretty well. It's handmade by me, so I feel like it's a special thing to use in the kitchen. And I squeeze about 1/2 cup of grapefruit juice. I already added like a little bit of grapefruit juice because I had extra, but just about a 1/2 cup. Like I said, I'm the worst measurer. So I'm going to add in the grapefruit juice, pulp and all. Also, I've already like spilled on myself, so that's so good. And then the next thing is 1/2 cup olive oil. I wish I had a bottle instead of having to wait for this to slowly pour out of my little drizzling bottle. But another fancy tip that I learned while cooking or baking anything is that if there is oil in the recipe, use oil in your measuring cup first, which I did not do this time around, but that's okay because I just did grapefruit juice. But use olive oil in your measuring cup first because it coats the measuring cup with the oil, and it allows other things to kind of like slip right out of the measuring cup. So that's just a fun fact. Okay, the oil has just gone in, and I think that is all of the like wet ingredients. Just kidding. Okay, so like I said, I don't separate wet and dry in 2 different bowls, but I do start by whisking all of the wet ingredients and then adding in the dry. I think that's like my way of baking now. I'm adding lemon juice to the cake. I'm just doing 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. You could just grab a lemon and squeeze it yourself, but because I'm trying to be quick and efficient today, I have pre-squeezed lemon juice. The ingredients are just lemon juice, so this works great. I'm going to whisk this and BRB.
A few moments later.
Okay, I just whisked the wet ingredients. I am going to add I'm looking at my recipe, the 1 cup of coconut flour in now and then whisk again before I add the other dry ingredients. Something about sugar with the wet ingredients, I feel like it really allows the like sugar with the egg to like whip better before I add the flour. So I'm just using coconut flour because it's honestly what I have on hand. Oopsies. I just spilled. What else is new? Okay, we're just gonna add that in and hope that was around 1 cup. So 1 cup of coconut flour, and I'm going to whisk, and again, be right back. Okay, now I'm adding the rest of the dry ingredients. I'm like a little bit nervous because the wet ingredients look like very wet. Sounds weird. There's just like a lot of wet ingredients, so I'm just hoping that this can balance it all. So I just added a half a teaspoon of the salt and then a half a teaspoon now of baking soda, and then I'm also adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm not an expert on baking. I just did a lot of like trial and error over the last couple of years, so I'm not exactly sure what the difference between baking soda and baking powder is, but I do know that when I bake a cake like this, it adds an extra like rise and fluff when I add baking soda and baking powder. And then I'm going to add the flour. So I've been really liking this all-purpose gluten-free flour that I found on Instacart 2 weeks ago. I was making chicken tenders, and this is the gluten-free flour that they recommended. So I'm going to pour in about 1.5 cups, and I honest to God don't know if I have enough. I somehow had just enough flour. That is just a treat. Let me whisk and come right back. Okay, so like I said, I always add or take away things as I'm baking, kind of depending on how the batter looks, and I felt that the batter looked a little bit thin before, but I added an extra 1/4 cup of the all-purpose flour because I literally had just an extra like 1/4 left. So I think the batter looks a little bit better. It's like thicker, kind of sticks to the spoon, and kind of drips down nicely. Like I keep saying, I'm not an expert, so this is kind of just like what I'm used to with gluten-free flour. This is the consistency I'd want when I'm baking a cake. Not too thin so that the cake isn't like super runny in the middle. I'm gonna pour this into my baking dish. I think I'm gonna go for a circular cake. Okay, I have moved over here to get the shot, but another tip for baking is always spray your cake tin with a little bit of avocado oil. I've seen people also just use like a stick of butter, and like you kind of move it around the pan and it gets it nice and greasy. I like to use avocado oil because it's just an easy spray. I sprayed the sides and the base, and then when I bought these cake tins on Amazon, they came with pre-cut circle paper. What is this called? Like non-stick paper. Anyway, not the point. So I like to just put that on the bottom on top of the oil, and I feel like it also helps it peel up easier. Let me get the batter. And now I'm just going to pour this batter in. So I like am loving this texture. Hey, I hope that it actually turns out well because I really want to share this video. I think it'll be really fun. But if this cake flops, then there's no point in sharing this video, is there? Another like weird pet peeve I have is any food left over in the bowl. Obviously I can't lick this bowl clean because it had 4 raw eggs, so I just like to use a spoon and like really scrape as much as I can out because this is part of the cake. I don't want to waste any, you know? And then once you have all the batter, just smooth out the top. You can use a spatula. I like to use the spoon because I already used the spoon to clear out the bowl. There's no need to dirty another dish. So that's it. I'm going to pop this in the oven. The oven has been preheating to 350. I have no idea how long this cake needs to bake, so I'm gonna start a timer right now, and I will keep you updated once this cake is ready. Okay, my cake is obviously not ready yet. It's only been, I don't know, like 25-ish minutes, and typically cakes that are thick take a bit longer, but I wanted to show you another quick like hack or tip if you're baking a cake. So it's hard to tell when the center is like fully cooked because obviously you can only see the top. So use a toothpick. I only have these gigantic skewers, but if you have regular toothpick, that works too. Just dip the toothpick into the center of the cake. If it comes out like dirty like this, like you can see all the like little food particles on the top, that means that the center is not quite ready. This doesn't look like too wet, but it's not as like solid as it should be. So this is a great way to check. Obviously, if the recipe has a time, just follow the time, but you never know because sometimes ovens are different. Sometimes the consistency can be different depending on the type of flour that you use, so this is a great tip. Okay, so it has been a little over, actually like an hour and a half to 2 hours since I put the cake in, and the cake is done. And the bake time for the cake is around 40 to 45 minutes. I used like a bigger circular dish, so if you want to use like a smaller circular dish and make a like shorter, fatter, taller cake, then the bake time might be different. Just use that toothpick method that I showed you to check if the center is ready. So I cut the cake in half horizontally. I want to have a multi-layered cake. I could have just baked 2 full cakes, but I didn't have enough ingredients, so I just baked 1 cake and I sliced it in half. You don't have to. I have like a cake cutting tool that's like a metal bar. It's right here. I have this like cake cutting tool that has like different wires and different heights that you can cut the cakes into different levels. So I just cut it right in the middle, and then I popped it in the fridge to cool, because if you add frosting to a warm cake, then the frosting will melt. So I'm making the frosting. I went with a vanilla cream cheese whipped frosting. So in my bowl, I just whipped 8 ounces of dairy-free cream cheese with a teaspoon of vanilla, and now I'm going to add the powdered sugar. I like to make sure that the cream cheese is room-ish temperature when I add it to the vanilla, and then whip it, and then that way when I add the powdered sugar it can like mix pretty consistently. So I have this powdered sugar. I'm gonna add it slowly and show you the end result. The frosting is done. It's super creamy. I'm gonna wait for the cakes to fully chill and then frost, and it's done. So I just did like a super smooth frosting, kind of let it like messily drip down the sides. I'm gonna cut into it now and hope for the best. OMG. This is my cake, and it is very worthy of its own YouTube video, so thank goodness, because I can share this video now. The cake itself just looks so like smooth. I got a crumb, but you know, whatever. This is the inside, and this is a slice. So you can like see the layers. The bite looks so fluffy. You can like see all the air bubbles in the actual cake itself. So this turned out delicious. Okay, it's time for a very live taste test. I have not tried it. The frosting is like a little off from like my normal consistency because it's not buttercream. I think I like it. I think it goes nicely with this cake. A buttercream could also work, but I'm very impressed with my own self. Cake is great. The texture is like so fluffy, and I think the frosting like actually goes well. I think it adds like a gentle sweetness, because the cake itself isn't like super sweet on its own, which I like, but then the frosting adds an extra sweetness. Okay, this is great. This is going in my future cookbook one day. I'm going to write this recipe down, get it ready to post on my blog. I'm so happy right now. Okay, I'm going to go finish this entire slice of cake and probably have another slice of cake because I baked it. I deserve it. I need it. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's a bit different from my like New York City vlogs or what I've posted so far on my YouTube channel. So hope you like a little cooking with me video. If you liked it, let me know. I will hopefully continue to do more baking or cooking with me videos soon. I'm currently in the process of making like a chicken casserole dish, so if you're interested, let me know. Be sure to like this video, leave a comment because it really supports my channel. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and also follow me on Instagram. I don't say this enough, and I should, because Instagram is my like main form of social media, and you can check out other recipes there. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!